Yeah. What you got going on?
Well, I think I'd say I'm staying up too late again. I was almost gonna go to bed, but then it just sort of sounded. Well, I got this topic idea of waiting, right? Of weighing, feeling the weight of things, and it felt like when I had nobody in the room, right? Homie wasn't here yet. You weren't here yet, and I felt like a certain romanticism to plugging away through in the middle of the night, making videos about random abstract shit, and I would call that experiencing the significance of doing shit, and then that motivated me a little bit to just go ahead and make more videos.
Um, what was you talking about?
Well, I'm talking about when I went to Denny's. There's this homeless guy outside Denny's, and he was talking. He was given like a homeless guy speech that sometimes we'll see where they're probably experiencing mental illness of some sort, and they're not talking to anybody. They're just they're talking to an imaginary audience or whatever. So I was standing out by the car. I was smoking a cigarette. I was drinking my coffee. I'd finished my food, but at Denny's, I always go outside with my coffee after I finish my food before I pay or anything, because I want to smoke a cigarette, So I went out there and I was standing by the car, and I was a little too far away from the guy, and I couldn't quite hear what all he was saying, but I was picking up like every third word. And after listening for a while and kind of straining to hear and picking up words that sounded interesting, which were basically things like about how society is, me, and something about videoing and stuff like that. So I went over closer to listen to him, but when I got within earshot so I could start to make out really what he was saying, he glanced at me and then he walked away from me. He went away. He didn't want an audience,
Right.
And so that whole experience, I made a video about that because it was kind of a trippy experience. First of all, trippy because I went from my normal in mode of just thinking about my own shit in my head to straining to hear somebody, which is a total shift of mind frame. And then second, the assumption that he wouldn't notice, or if he would notice, that he would like or want that me to go listen to him more, even though I wasn't trying to be obtrusive about it. I just assumed that was the case, that either he wouldn't notice, wouldn't mind, or that if he did notice, that he would probably think it was good that he had an audience, because obviously he's trying to talk. Those were all wrong, all those assumptions. He didn't want me to go stand over where I could hear him, and he walked away from me to avoid me hearing him. So that tripped me out.
What did he want to talk to himself?
Yeah, he's talking to himself, right? Out loud, though. They're making a little speech.
And then he walked away from you as if you was eavesdropping in a conversation that he was having to himself.
Yeah. Right.
I'm gonna act like that makes sense.
Well, but you see, it shows you how, for me, it was an interesting experience because I sat there and goes, well, I sure went into that with a lot of assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize I did until after he walked away. I was like, wait, that's not supposed to happen. What? Why are you walking away from me?
Perspective.
I know. Like, if anything, it wouldn't have surprised me if he had said, if he had stopped talking his little speech and come over and asked me for $1, that wouldn't have surprised me. But
right.
He didn't do that at all. He just walked away from me. So.
I mean, crazy is as crazy does.
I mean, I did know what he was saying, though. The other thing I was tripping out on is I'll never know. How annoying is that? You never get to find out.
I want to know what the conversation was about.
All I know is he talked about society, me, like related to society, like too much of a me focus in society, and then something about videos and videoing.
Videos and videoing.
That's what made me really want to go over closer. It was like, I wonder what he's saying about videos.
Mm-hmm.
Probably like government conspiracy stuff. It didn't sound like it. The other thing.
Who's crazy enough?
It wasn't familiar crazy like that. It didn't ring as like, oh, he's doing that like CIA stuff. It didn't sound like that from a distance, but I didn't catch it all, you know.
Right. What type is crazy enough to talk to themselves to that point where it's like, hey, how you doing? I'm fine.
Well, it wasn't like that kind of talking to himself. It wasn't like
Oh, okay.
split personality. It was like he was giving a little speech, right? This is the other reason
Right.
why I assumed he wasn't going to care if I got within earshot. He was saying he had an imagined audience he was giving a speech to. He wasn't talking to some other person back and forth. He was giving
Right.
a speech, you know. So
It's hard to understand people.
yeah,
I keep saying that. The more I understand people, the more I realize how complicated people are.
right. Like I was thinking about the waitress at Denny's tonight. I was thinking, really thinking, if I wanted, if I wanted to make moves on her, how would I go about that for maximum effectiveness? When I start thinking those sort of things, my first response is, well, you just go, hi, I'm Eric. I want to take you out on a date.
Mm.
But you know what? There's got to be that's giving up on Effie, right? That's not trying to do it well. That's trying to say, I don't want to play this game. You know?
You know, I don't know if you did this on purpose, but this is a great segue into what's currently happening to me
Hmm.
at work.
Oh, so you know, but you probably know more about chicks than I do. So tell us.
Nah.
Tell us
I
what's
really
going on at
don't.
work. Okay, well, regardless of that, tell us what's going on at work.
INTJ. Well, I'm assuming she is an INTJ. I don't really know that for a fact, but
Hmm.
I've gone out of my way to just ask her questions, like on a day-to-day basis. Come back with a new question. I didn't know I was typing her at first, and then it kind of turned out to be that.
Hmm.
And so I just came to the conclusion that she was an INTJ.
And so you're kind of thinking you want to move on her, and you're not quite sure how receptive she is, or what? Or you already
Uh,
have moved on her, or what?
well, then this is the twist because I found out that she was in a relationship with another woman.
Another woman?
Mm. I
Two
didn't know
for
she.
one. 2-for-1 deal.
Fair enough. I mean, I could, but I mean, I could try,
You
put
can
the effort
try.
in.
You can try. I don't know if that
It's
would
like
really.
cracking a combination to, Mission Impossible
Yeah,
type of stuff. It's
you
like
pull
cracking a
that off.
combination to a safe.
You pull that off. You go down in like stud history
Uh,
or something.
yeah, like pimp history or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought she is very introverted and she don't say much at all. It's very like just one or two words she would ever say to anybody. But she is in a relationship.
Well, you could ask her this. You could say, "Hey, have you considered penis as an alternative to vagina?" She go,
Yeah,
"What?"
I might actually do that.
You did not just ask me that question, did you? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It gets your point across, probably.
She
I mean,
might come out with an actual like paragraph of "get the fuck out of my face." And a
well, I mean,
whole
she could just be in that relationship pending finding the right dude too. Chicks are kind of like wishy-washy about that shit.
yeah, that's true. Well, we can only assume, right?
Well, I mean, it seems like chicks are always going back and forth. Like they're lesbian, they're in a lesbian relationship, then they're with a dude, you know?
Yeah.
Because they're like, the problem with this chick is she doesn't have any cock on her at all. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't mean to be talking shit about lesbians. Lesbians are fine with me. I don't have any problem with lesbians or anything like
Yeah, I
that.
don't really care.
Yeah, it's whatever. I just think that chicks from early on they're really touchy with each other. You know, they hold hands at school and stuff, and they go back to each other's houses and they squeeze each other's boobs and stuff like that. That's what they do. I'm serious. I swear. I know it must be true. It's true.
You know, you must have footage.
I don't have footage, but I mean, I've seen lots of films on equivalent sort of matters, but I'm pretty sure those were staged. I don't think those were naturally occurring girls feeling each other's boobs.
Might have been actors.
Might have been. It might have been. They might have been fooling me. Anyway. So, okay, well, is that your current lady prospect, or you got your eyes open for other lady prospects, or what?
Well, I don't have. The one thing about me, I don't have like high standards, but I do have very particular standards. I immediately know when me and another woman would mush well together, and most women I don't mush well with.
You don't mush well with. Okay.
I don't.
So
Our
look,
parts might mush well, but
when you've selected a woman and you're settled in, you have created a unified woman mush. It's slightly above room temperature, and you just want to sit in a bowl together. That's how you become mush. Okay, well, let's see. You're obviously a thinker, and I don't think you're going to want a chick who's constantly playing. Oh, Unify, now you need to make me feel this way. Right, I'm guessing that's not what you're looking for in a chick?
I really, yeah.
High maintenance isn't on the top of your list?
I would prefer having sex with, if you had two bricks, put them together, that'd be the legs with no vagina in the middle. I would have sex with the two bricks over the high maintenance woman. That's me.
Well, let me tell you, Unify, don't underestimate those bricks. They are a minx in the sack. They seem like they're gonna be dead fish, right? Just a couple of bricks. You get their clothes off, you just watch what they do. They're crazy.
Right.
Never underestimate the sensuality of the common brick.
They might be party personality bricks. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be ESFPs. Well, yeah, I got my love life problems too. You know, I don't know what to do about it. I'm not doing anything right. I accidentally opened Tinder today for the first time in a while. I didn't try to open it. I was trying to do something else. I was driving, and I opened
Tinder.
Yeah, Tinder.
Why?
It's spelled Tinder. It's like a dating application.
Yeah, but why? Why would you?
Well, I had it before when I got first separated with my wife. I thought I went on a couple Tinder dates, and then I was like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Because
you don't need it.
Well, no, I do need it, but I don't like the amount of work it's going to entail. Right? After I went on a couple dates, and I saw how much back and forth was entailed on just setting up those couple of dates, and it's not like, it's not like 10% of women say, yes, Eric, I'm interested in you. It's like 0.001%. So I don't. I get a certain amount of matches and stuff, and then I think I'd probably do a little bit better now on Tinder than I did then. Then I wasn't thinking in terms of FE, right? I was just thinking in terms of, well, this is what I think, so this is what I'm going to say to that lady. That's not really a good way to go. Hey, homie, you're alive. I was trying to talk to you earlier. Go ahead, Unify.
I was saying, hey, well, it's just you do have. It's like a charisma. I don't know what it's called.
Charisma.
Well, the NE with the FE, it'll work perfectly with drawing women in.
Well, you think so?
It's a waste of time.
But women have their own metric. Here's the thing I've heard, and I like this explanation better than any other explanation I've heard. Women find You probably heard this thing said before that women like, why are women constantly getting with assholes and stuff, and guys who don't treat them well, when there are relationship-minded guys who want to treat them well, uh, who are pursuing them, but they're choosing the asshole dude, and then complaining about it when the asshole fucks them over, right?
It's really weird.
A lot of people have noted this fact. Well, I heard an explanation that finally makes a little bit of sense to me. It's this. Chicks find the assholes to be more honest. On a sort of gut instinctual level, they find them more honest because they can see the hunger in those guys. It's like N-types, NTs, NTPs anyway, I think a lot of other N-types too, that for me, it's like I'm when I'm out in the world, I'm probably not feeling lustful, you know? It's like I have that mode of thought kind of turned off usually. And
Yeah, me too.
And then when I'm in a relationship and I go back home, and then I note that I'm thirsty or whatever, and then the woman's there, and then it's like, oh yes, check, all the okay, you can do this things are checked off, like, you know, you're not gonna get in trouble for trying to touch her. Then I go, okay, then it's open, and then you go get on it. But yeah, that's how I am, and I think that the douchebag guys, they're in sort of predator mode, and they're conveying to the woman that I want to fuck you, and the woman respects that on some sort of biological level as more honest than the nice person's interaction with her. She mistakes the person who's more socially adapted to civilization, able to turn off that stuff when dealing with people most of the time, as dishonest, even though it's just like it's a naturally occurring community skill or something. You know, you don't want to go like staring at chicks every time you see one in the world and making them feel uncomfortable and stuff like that, right? So,
Right.
but if you're an ESTP, you don't make them feel uncomfortable. You make them giggle, and then you make them take their clothes off. I don't know.
Good job, ESTPs.
No, I don't approve of that shit. I don't know.
I don't know. It could be a matter of perspective.
Yeah, well, I think there's plenty of chicks who want to be treated in that fashion as well. I've seen there's a corresponding female kind of sex drive that says, I want to be, you know, treated like a slut. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying I would imagine there'd be a corresponding type for the conqueree type. It would be a conquerorine. Be conquer me type.
I'm starting to learn how to adapt, I guess, using a lot more FE. And I notice the more confidence I have talking to people that I don't even know, the more women just come. They just like, I don't know what it is. It's that directness that you talk about. Because they assume it's more authentic. And I just say what's on the top of my head, and I just, I'm very direct.
You let up on the leash on your NE a little bit, is what you're saying? Because I have a feeling, Unify, I'm going to offer you a diagnosis right now. You have got your fucking NE on a leash. Let it free. Let it run free. It'll do some crazy shit, but it's alright. You'll figure it out.
The problem is experiences in the past where you have a young INTP saying shit. Very few times in his life that he would say shit. It is always awkward. It's always stupid, and it's always coming across as just, weird to other people. And so you don't use any. You learn how to turn it off in public.
Taylor talks about a similar phenomenon of learning to present through TI. Now, obviously, for an INTP, that's natural. I think the
Right.
INTP either is going to have reinforced more or reinforced less the erring on the side of safety. It sounds to me like you probably had it reinforced. You didn't try a whole bunch of erring on the side of risk, and when you did, it probably was reinforced your priority for safety or something like that. Because as we're
Yeah.
kids, we're really subject to a bunch of bullshit because we don't know how to. We don't understand what those arguments are. We don't understand how to respond to it. We don't understand. We don't believe we have the moral high ground. If we believed we had the moral high ground and had the correct kind of outrage, as kids, nobody would get shut down like that, right? But instead, we
Right.
get shut down all the time because NTPs, we're going to be pressing up against the status quo. Whatever the status quo is, there's some place we're going to be pushing on it, going, what is this thing here? Why is it in the way of me? You know? So,
Mm.
but I think one of the great things about entering into adulthood is we learn to know our own strength through what I hope would be, in this context, an affirming discourse space. It's not necessarily a safe space for bad discourse. I would hope it's a dangerous space for bad discourse. But at the same time, I would hope it's absolutely an affirming space for all discourse. So even if somebody were to come in here, and certainly it's not you, because you have not said anything risky, as far as I can tell yet. Yeah, so you haven't taken a risk yet. I'm still waiting for Unify's first risk.
What risk would I take if I was to take a risk?
I don't know, like make some make some big joke that requires you to ask everyone to be quiet and listen to your joke first. That would be a risk, right? All right, everybody be quiet. I got a great joke. Shh. Now you've got yourself. Now you're on the high wire, right? You've set it up like everybody's got to think this is great. Everyone has to shut up and listen to it. It's so great. And you tell a joke and nobody laughs.
And then you hear a womp womp womp, like at the end of the joke.
Yeah. Right.
But I hit like a cue audience laugh button on the side of me.
Yeah,
A fake
you gotta have
audience.
one of those. Yeah. Well, you hope that people in attendance don't have the trombone, Unify, so they can't go.
Or the cane that they have at the Apollo. You know the cane at the Apollo where they pull you off the stage? I might have had it.
Oh, do
A
they have
midget
that?
standing next to me with a cane.
Well, yeah. Hami says, don't NTPs get more accepted as they get older by society? Well, yeah. I mean, it depends. I think it depends on whether you entrench or whether you move in response to some of the challenges of life. You know, it's easy enough to imagine an alternate life in which I died in a drunken motorcycle crash and never managed to get anywhere. Right? I would have just been stuck in a trap of I'm not getting it. Just not getting it. I'm like, fuck this world. Fuck this world for hating me so much. Basically.
I've been there.
And of course the world never hated me so much. The world just needed me to be attentive to its ways of making my identity palatable. There are ways out there that allow me to make my identity more palatable to people. At sort of the bottom level of palatability of tolerance. Hooray! Those people tolerate my presence. They no longer tell me to get out of here, right? That's the bottom level of social acceptance. And then I think I'm at a level right now, which is a happy one, which is not the top level by any means, but is a happy one for me, which is I'm able now to engage with not a whole lot of pull, so I don't have to. And that's a TE solution I have for that. Really, it wasn't like my FE's developed so much, but it's really just it's the protocols of interaction that I'm engaging in that have ended up working well enough to make it such that even though it's 1 a.m, I was still able to get a few people into this GoToMeeting session and have a conversation with Unify, and it's great, And I don't have to impose on you. Like, if you didn't show up, it would be because you didn't feel like it, and I wouldn't be expecting you to be here. You would know that I wasn't expecting you, so you wouldn't feel burdened in any sense, right? It's like, to me, that is incredibly liberating because I can interact with you without baggage coming in,
Yeah.
I think when we have FE in the 3rd or 4th slot, we have trouble understanding those kind of dynamics. Like, okay, wait, there's some expectations, there's some reciprocity here, or I just want to play, but there's all these social rules I got to think about, That's kind of one of those deals.
Do you, like, ENTP, do you feel like you have to dial back FE and NE in order to feel more like you belong, in order to feel a little more happy in public?
I think I have to dial up FE. And what that means is that there's going to be fewer displays of obvious FE. Which means people are going to just feel more comfortable and be less aware of my efforts to make them feel comfortable. And I think one of the level 1 mistake that I was stuck in for most of my life on FE is the notion that effort at making people comfortable is the same thing as making people comfortable. And it's not, of course. Just making sure that you cross your T's and dot your I's in terms of spiking out misunderstandings. I hope you don't think I meant. And in terms of taking accountability. I'm sorry I'm late, and I hope this is acceptable, and all those sort of checking on your guests' well-being things. Well, those sort of checking on your guests' well-being things are very powerful spices that should be used very sparingly. Or because what they really end up doing is sort of withdrawing the other individual from the flow of the moment, which is where they want to be probably anyway.
Well, I feel like because it's not as if, and I'm not like heartless or whatever, but I'm nice to people because it just makes sense to be nice to people. I'm not nice to people because I actually feel something. And so when I'm in public, I feel like, I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this about the feeling thing. Would you say it might be more true to claim that you were nice to people because you've noted in the past that when you are mean, later you experience negative feelings?
Yeah.
Right. See, that's the thing. I don't experience them in the moment at all, but I am aware of the fact that I'll feel guilty about shit later. Some kind of things. I better not do that. I better go. I better go see my parents. I'm just going to be kicking myself butt until I go over there again. You know, like that kind of thing. The emotions come up periodically, and I go, oh yeah, there's that emotion. And it goes away, but if I don't do anything, then it starts to fuck with me. I start having dreams, I start experiencing lots of feelings, stuff like that, you know?
There's a lot of feeling shit.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's stop this video and let's go on to the next one. Georgius is here. Or Georgius, okay. And he says that he's from the state of Georgia in the country of Georgia. Now, most people would think that the country of Georgia doesn't have a state of Georgia inside of it. And they'd be right, except Georgius here has created one just yesterday.